Broads Media.
Here we go, baby. Here we go. Getting ready for some weekend playoff hoops. I am irrationally excited. I can't even express into words how pumped up I am. Last night I did a show on WIP that started at 10 o'clock. At 2 p.m., at 1 p.m., hell, at noon, I was getting so pumped up to talk to the people about what I witnessed against Miami, about what I project when it comes to the New York Knicks. It was a feeling that I can't even describe. And even here at Broads Media, I did the post-game show Wednesday night. I woke up Thursday morning and I had to stop myself and say, cool the jets, let the post-game show breathe a little bit. But all I wanted to do was go to Wawa, grab myself a nice fat cup of coffee Thursday morning, and just ramble again. Now, I told myself to wait a little bit, all right? Give that show some shelf life. But here we go, all right? Here's Friday. I can't wait any longer. There's only so much that you can bring me down, all right? There's only so much you can hold me down until I come out and shoot out of a damn cannon like the Sixers are going to do at Madison Square Garden. I see Knicks fans talking about the glorious Madison Square Garden and how toxic it's going to be, how hostile it's going to be. Dude, shut the fuck up. When you play a home game at the Wells Fargo Center, it's hostile. Go ask Tobias. Go ask Joel Embiid when they walk into the locker room down double digits at half. You're not going to do anything that we haven't seen before. I hate to break it to you. Madison Square Garden doesn't pop the way it used to pop. It doesn't have that aura anymore. All these buildings get loud. Golden State got loud. Cleveland got loud. The Wells Fargo Center gets loud. They all get loud. You're not special, and we're going to show you that you're not special because the Sixers are going to kick your ass in 6 games. This will end in South Philadelphia in 6 games. And I'm not disrespecting Jalen Brunson. That kid's a stud. If you haven't been paying attention to what he has done, he's 3 times the player that he was in Dallas. He's no joke. But he's not the best player on the floor. Let me say that again. Jalen Brunson's legit. This is the NBA playoffs, though. You're going to see legitimate teams. In the first round, yeah, you're probably more accustomed to seeing the Washington Wizards like we saw a few years back. The Miami Heat that was ran by who? Was that the Kelly Olynyk squad of Miami Heat? Jared Dudley and the Brooklyn Nets? That's normally your first round style of matchup. This is a second round matchup in the first round because the Sixers aren't truly a 7 seed, and that's what happens when you have to play so much without the big man in the regular season. But you know what the Knicks remind me of? And I know the Sixers, weirdly enough, I'm going to bring this up as if the Sixers are some juggernaut getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, but when you first got out of the process and you were dealing with those really fun 50-plus win seasons between Embiid and Ben Simmons, and you had that duo, and they were beating up on the Jared Dudley teams and then getting to the second round and losing, the Knicks right now, to me, are that team. And it's weird because the Sixers haven't got out of the second round yet, but if I'm comparing the two teams, I look at the Sixers as a jump ahead, a big portion of the team is a step ahead of that New York Knicks team. So the Sixers have the better player, the best player on the floor, and they have a better head coach. Because Tom Thibodeau is the John Tortorella of NBA head coaching. You will work your ass off. You will compete. If you don't, you're sitting on the bench. We will battle against teams and outperform them due to our work ethic. And that's cute until you see what the advantage of a tactician does. So Nick Nurse does that as well. Okay? You have to put your balls on the table to play for Nick Nurse. If you're not bringing it, you won't play. That's already written in stone. But you have that and some. You have that plus the ability to be super creative, super unique. Nick Nurse just pantsed Eric Spoelstra in the second half after Eric Spoelstra pantsed Nick Nurse. That is an elite coaching battle. Tom Thibodeau's a good coach. You have an elite coach. So the Sixers have the best player, the better coach, and maybe they don't have the chemistry that the Knicks have. And the Knicks have dealt with some injuries with Julius Randle and whatnot, but because of Embiid missing so much time, Jalen Brunson was there. They might have missed Julius Randle. Jalen Brunson, who is their star, was there. When you miss your star for so long and then get key contributors at the deadline, and you have to incorporate them in with such a small window of regular season play before the playoffs begin, yeah, it's different. So I'll lean advantage team chemistry towards the Knicks. But here's one thing that I ask if you are New York. Because I heard Derek Bodner discuss this a little bit about how the Knicks just don't play zone. They're not a team that could play a zone. Or they don't. They haven't. They were not willing to. It's not something that's part of their DNA. If you're Tom Thibodeau, do you go down the path of, we are the second seed for a reason. We do certain things extremely well. We have a different personnel than Eric Spoelstra, so we are going to stick with what got us here. Screw what Miami showed. Screw the struggles that the Sixers showed against that Miami zone. We are going to do it our way. Or do they go back to the tape and realize that there was something to take from Miami, even though it's not what they do, and they go out of their comfort zone in Game 1, in Series 1, and do something just out of what the Knicks do? And it's a very interesting question, right? Because the Knicks are great in their eyes because Tom Thibodeau did X, Y, and Z all year long. But I don't know if that's going to work against Joel. If you think that you can do certain things against Joel and it just be perfect for you, you're a fool. You're a fool. You have to do savvy things. If the Knicks just want to do what they did all regular season long, I don't think you stand a chance. Now, let's take a listen here because the Knicks were speaking to the media about this matchup, and here's what their center had to say about defending Joel Embiid.
Yeah, just making him uncomfortable. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we do a good job of showing a shell, so a lot of guys kind of loaded up. The main thing is just he's going to seek fouls, and so I think that's the main thing. Through fouls, he'll get his little breaks, easy free throws. So that's probably the main focus is not really letting him to the line and kind of going from there. I mean, it's make sure things, keeping your hands back, knowing that at the end of the day it's an MVP, so he's going to get some calls that maybe don't go in your favor. But at the end of the day, it's really just doing your job, playing team defense, and again, trying to don't really put your hands in because he's going to try to get it in him, but also smart from him. I mean, why not use it? I'm not saying it's bad. If he's smart enough to do it, and we keep doing it, then that's kind of on us.
Now, there's nothing there like Paul Reed, and we'll get to Paul Reed in 1 second. He was giving the New York Knicks some bulletin board material, not intentionally, but you got to be sharper when you're talking to the media. And like I said, we'll play that in a second. He was on a podcast with Shams. I think Chandler Parsons was in the podcast as well, asking some questions. But maybe I'm just fighting myself over the technicality of the words used here. But when I hear that he seeks fouls, of course, smart NBA players know what they can get away with, what they can't get away with, what they're doing to the other team physically, what they're not doing to the other team physically. They're aware of all the surroundings and how to draw fouls and all that stuff. Part of one of the biggest additions we won out of Tyrese Maxey is learning how to get that whistle. So it is a part of everyone's game. Yes, to a degree, you, quote, seek fouls. But the way that I watch Joel Embiid is different than, quote, he seeks fouls. I watch it like this. This guy's a fucking monster, right? You don't stand a damn chance. He's so talented that you don't have any other option other than fouling him. He's so good at recognizing the shot clock, the patience. Some defenders realize the clock's ticking. All right, there's only 1 second left, so you bite on a pump fake, and with 0.3 seconds left, Joel goes up. I mean, is that technically seeking a foul, or is that being so good, so amazing, so phenomenal that you don't have any other thing to do except for fouling him? I believe that he goes out there thinking, I'm going to play dominant ball tonight. And the correlation with I'm going to play dominant ball is people have to foul me. But I don't think he goes in saying, all right, 16 free throws tonight, fellas. That's where my mind is. That's the mission. I'm going to get fouled. Now, there's times where it's an advantage. Like if you put the other team's center in foul trouble early, let's pick up a couple fouls, see if we can get the bonus, see if we can work at the line. I get that. I get that. But maybe I'm just fighting over the technicality of the word seeking foul. Maybe that's a flaw on my part. But I don't know. I think that he's just great. And when you're great, you foul greatness, especially when you operate with your back to the basket. You operate down low. Sixers fans don't want to hear this, but Joel Embiid does back himself to the basket. He does play bully ball. It's just funny that, I guess the narrative over here for a while was he doesn't. But he ends up leading the league in post-ups and all that. Listen, today's not the day for the civil war of Sixers fans versus Joel Embiid, although it seems to be a battle that will last for the length of time. All right, here's Paul Reed. Paul Reed. What are we doing here, Paul Reed? Take a listen.
Paul, you guys now will face the Knicks in the first round. Was there multiple conversations how we want to get this win to match up with the Knicks? Are you confident in that Knicks? And was it more that, or was it more to avoid the Boston Celtics in the first round to make this game so important last night?
Nah, man. I mean, I feel like we ain't ducking no smoke, but yeah, we wanted the Knicks matchup. Of course, that's the easier team, I guess. But, it's going to be fun. We match up pretty well with them. They got a great guard. We got a great guard. We also got Joel, MVP. So, like you said earlier, he's one of the most unstoppable guys in the league right now. So they're going to have to send triple teams, and he's going to get everybody else involved, I'm sure of it.
Now, was it malicious? Absolutely not. You could see in his face the moment he said the easier team that he recognized, I screwed up. But here's the thing, whether he's right or wrong, because that's one of the things in the comments from Sixers fans. Who cares? He's right? Let's not be naive here. If you're facing the Knicks, it's better than facing the Boston Celtics. But of course, yes, it's not about if he's right or wrong. This is professional sports. Guys like Bryce Harper, who are the best in the business, stares down Arcia after hitting multiple bombs because if they can grab any sort of added fuel, they will. They do. The best of the best do it. Hell, Michael Jordan in his documentary said he would make things up in his head to try and get an advantage. He would pretend like guys were saying things and they were never even mentioned at all. It was just made up fake noise for bulletin board material, and that's what inspired the guy. Now, that's probably one of the most strangest of them all, but that's an example of even how the greats do it. See, in an ideal, perfect world, professional athletes don't need any sort of outside noise as motivation. But that's not how we live, okay? Because that's now posted on Jalen Brunson's locker. That's posted on all these guys' lockers that this is an easy matchup, and they are going to try to inspire themselves by it, whether it was malicious intent or not. And I'm sure the Sixers called him right at, yo, Paul, all right, goodbye. You ain't doing any more media tours. Sorry, you're done. You're done. You're done. Because that's garbage. You just can't do it. That's stuff that you got to recognize at this time of the year is not good for you. All right, so I took a couple of calls last night that really stood with me. And One of them was about winning game one in New York and how important game one was. So now you put the Knicks on their heels in their own building because there's no way in hell you can go back to Philadelphia or go to Philadelphia for the first time down 0-2. You're pretty much putting their season on life support the moment they get into the playoffs, right? Think about that. The Knicks are at home. They go down 0-1 to the Sixers. And hold on a second. We can't lose game two. I mean, we can't lose game two. If we lose game two, we're screwed. We're fucked. We're done. So you can't do that, right? I got you. I mean, I prefer that. I want them to. That's what I demand. I want them to go into game one and do it. But it's really about winning one of the first two. So if it's game two, then you're feeling good about yourself, going back home with the potential chance to go up 3-1 before, you have to battle it out and see if you can close out a game, whether that happens to be in game 6 on your home floor or in game 5 on the road. It's more about, for me, just one. Take one of the two. It could be game 2. All right, it could be game 2. Heading into game 1, of course, I demand them to win. Yeah, win. But in reality, it's about the bigger picture of the 7-game sample size. And I don't need it specifically to be game 1 as much as that caller did. And one argument I had big time was about the Tobias Harris stuff. And I went out there and said that, I don't think it's necessary to have the angst towards Tobias every single time he touches the ball. If the ball is swinging around the perimeter and it happens to touch his hands, I believe as fans, we are going overboard, making it very, very brutal for him. And maybe the best is for Tobias to go out on the road against New York and to just allow him to get away from the toxic Sixers fan base right now at home. Just worry about playing ball, worry about doing some good things. I don't know if he has the confidence, right? I mean, at this point of the season, if we're questioning it and if he's getting benched at the end of a game, then we're pretty much told what the answer is here. It's not good enough. But someone said to me that he will only judge Tobias Harris based off a max contract guy. So if you look at all the max contract guys, if he's not performing at a rate of a max contract guy, then he's not performing well enough. And my argument is, at some point, the contracts goes out the window. From a big picture of your roster standpoint, yes, of course, it matters that he's making too much money. But once you are here in this position, if Tobias has a very efficient game where he scores 18 points, has 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and he shoots the ball well. He's not turning the ball over. He's good defensively. His size matters, and he's doing some good things out on the perimeter, and it looks good from Tobias, even though it's 18 points. That's a good game. And he goes, no, it's not good. Well, then hold on a second. Because Kelly Oubre is on a veteran minimum deal, does that mean that when he scores 3 points, it's okay? If he shoots 0 for 11 from the field, it doesn't matter because he doesn't make that much money. You can't just apply money to results at this time. You can play a good game for Tobias Harris. If Tobias Harris had 22, 9, and 4, 22 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. If that's what you got in game 1 against the Knicks, that's a damn good basketball game. That's an important basketball game, and that would probably help lead you to a victory. And to that caller, he went, nope, not good enough. He's only good if he does 30-plus max contract level play. And I'm like, well, then he can never do anything to satisfy you. I know he's not performing. I know he's not worth the money he's paid. That's a separate conversation. But if I asked you, can he do anything to make you feel good outside of being LeBron James overnight? Is there something? If the answer's no, well, then that's just like ass. That's the hatred that I'm talking about, where it's so irrational that you're causing internal issues for Tobias, because at that point there's no way he can do well, and there is a way. The reason I get upset about Tobias is because I feel it's in there. He's lacking confidence right now, but the skill level to be an effective player, not an elite player, not a take over the game player, an effective player is in Tobias Harris. That's why if I'm Nick Nurse, and this is how the whole conversation started, is I'm starting Tobias game one. And I mentioned previously, as we took some anytime hotline calls post-game, I would have the conversation about what do we do with Batum? Do we lean on him more? Do we bench Tobias Harris? Do we start Batum? I'm willing to talk about it. I'm not necessarily willing to say, yes, we put Batum in the rotation. Starting lineup, I should say. What I would do is I would allow Tobias to start, but if I realize quickly this ain't it, then he's done. Then we'll do something different. Then we'll have to look at our bench. But I'm willing to start him. I'm willing to have him play some minutes, and I want to see how the game goes, because if he does have a solid Tobias night, it changes everything. Especially if Maxey isn't as uncomfortable as he was against the Heat. And I do believe Eric Spoelstra had a major impact on why that was the case, that I don't know if Tom Thibodeau can necessarily duplicate that level. But Nick Nurse and what he does from not just scheme, too, but preparation. And it's not just Nick Nurse, it's the entire staff. Listen to Nick Batum talk about how prepared he was for that final possession and that block on Tyler Hero. This is outstanding work.
I mean, they showed me that play, like coaches showed me that play in the video literally like a minute before. So
really,
we're expecting that play, like for them to go around and catch it from go right and shoot it like right away. That's exactly the play they showed me like a minute before. So I was expecting it.
Are you serious? We knew what to expect. We've seen that play before. On the fly. Yeah, be ready for this, be ready for that. He knew exactly where to get you on the floor, and that's what the versatility is for Nick Batum. So, what I would do with Jalen Brunson, I would try Kyle Lowry first, and I would see if you can maximize the length of Batum elsewhere. But, if needed, I could totally throw Batum on Brunson and see how that goes. You got a couple different options here. Maxey can get crushed defensively. We know that. But Kyle Lowry to start. And if that doesn't necessarily pan out, from there I'll throw Batum on him and see what we can do from that aspect. But I'm excited. I think that this team can do a lot of great things. I think this team can absolutely get past the New York Knicks. I think they have more talent. I think they have the better coach. So more times than not, when you have the better talent and the better coach, then you are going to win a playoff series. It's not going to be easy. All right, I do respect the New York Knicks. This is not me being disrespectful to them. They are a top seed in the NBA Eastern Conference. Their biggest problem is the year that they were the biggest of their time, like if they were the biggest of their time, I don't even know what that means, but if they were the best that they've been in a while and they're the second seed, the problem is it happened to fall on a year where the Sixers were the 7th seed, and it sucks for you. That's all. It's just unfortunate for you. That's reality of it. Here's Nick Nurse on Tobias Harris and what he saw against Miami. He gave you coach speak. He gave you what he should have gave you, but I figured it would be interesting to hear it if you haven't. Let's check it out.
No, I thought Tobias was playing fine. I thought he played a ton of minutes. I thought he was absolutely tired. That was the only reason I made that switch. And I made the switch back to Kyle, to Buddy. I thought Buddy was playing great and gave us a spark too, but I just thought it was that time of the game where Kyle will usually make a play or two, and he did. He checked in, ran down a long rebound, very next possession, tapped the steal, tapped from behind, just was going with what I thought we needed at the moment.
I love listening to that guy talk, man. I love it. That's a coach. That's a coach. I'll put my hand up and I'll acknowledge that for the length of my life, I've always claimed that NBA head coaching is sort of blah, and I stand by that. For about 98% of the league, there's guys. But I never really saw the impact on a day-to-day basis because we never had that style of tactician. Now that I see it, I realize the strengths of it and how important those details are. Now, there's not many of them. Eric Spoelstra, Nick Nurse, Greg Popovich. Maybe Steve Kerr. I don't know. We'll have to find out more without a Steph Curry. But those guys, that's 4 out of how many NBA teams? And maybe there's one you could sprinkle in there or whatnot. But ultimately, you can count on one hand, out of all the NBA, you count on one hand the guys that make that impact. But now that you see it, this is where I acknowledge, hey, when you see it and when you hear it and when you see Batum make that's game-changing. Potentially the difference in getting out in the second round or getting stuck playing Boston in the first round and being eliminated. That detail, which is impressive. All right, to the Anytime Hotline, we'll start things off with my boy Ethan. What's on your mind, Ethan?
What's up, bros? So, the Sixers tip off against the Knicks tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
In a 7-game series. Man, this one's going to be a dogfight. I think if the Sixers win, there are a couple big factors here.
Hit me.
One is Joel Embiid. We're not going to know what Joel Embiid looks like until we're not going to know what he looks like until like the first quarter of game 1. I feel like once we see him on that floor and how he's doing against the Knicks, that will tell a lot for how the series is going to go. If he looks good, we definitely have a chance. If he doesn't look like himself, I don't know how good our chances are. If we're going to win this series, Tyrese Maxey needs to be a complete game changer. OG Anunoby cannot be holding him to really bad shooting nights. That would be a nightmare for this team because we know Tobias Harris is never going to step up. If we're going to win this series, we got to win it in 6 or less. I don't like our chances of going into Madison Square in Game 7 and beating those boys. Jalen Brunson has 2 national championship games under his belt, and he's won both of them. So he knows what it's like to play in the biggest moment. Joel Embiid's got to be good, and Maxey cannot get shut down. We know Tobias isn't going to step up. Oubre needs some good games in there as well. But, I mean, if I were to be honest, I do like our chances at winning this series. We just need to play like ourselves. We got to play fast. Can't fall into the Knicks game plan. Go Sixers.
Well, I don't know how fast you play at this time of the year because the entire game slows down. And you can make the argument that the game slowing down could potentially be better for Joel Embiid so he's not racing up and down. Here's one thing I'll say, though. I don't know if I necessarily agree that we, quote, know Tobias won't ever show up. Could he have a good game? Can he have a game? And if he has a game, that's step out. Listen, Nick Batum just won you a game. Now, obviously, I would prefer my max contract player to be there every night, but that's besides the point. Now that we are here, can I imagine, if you told me right now, out of the 7-game series, sorry, I got a little message on my phone here that seemed important, but I'll get to that after the show. In a 7-game series, do I think there's a night where Tobias surprises all the people that hate him? Yes. Yes, I think Tobias has a game in this series. I do. And back to the Joel stuff. Here's my weirdest feeling of the Joel stuff is the body language. We always point out the body language, and he's dealing with a lot. What happened in Orlando with his knee, something bad happened. He left the game. We all got nervous. It's going to look clunky. I'm just preparing myself and trying to prepare you guys. The body language, I don't think will ever look right because he's not right. But that doesn't mean he can't dominate. It's not mutually exclusive. He could pass out of the double team. Like, if the Knicks decide we have to double him, if he's not 100%, which he's not, he can still dominate the game passing. And if they say, hey, this dude's not right, we don't need to double team him because he's not his full potential, he's still capable of destroying you and annihilating you and hitting jump shots and crushing you at this percent if single covered or if not applying pressure to him. So the body language, how it looks, I don't want to get tied too deep into how it looks because I don't think it's ever going to look, quote, right with Embiid during this run because he's not right. But that doesn't mean he can't take over the game still. I appreciate the call, Ethan. Love you to death. You know that. But yeah, Maxey, you're right on, man. Maxey can't get shut down. We need Maxey to be a dog. There's no doubt about it. Let's go to Zach in Baltimore.
Well, we're back talking Sixers.
That's right.
I can't wait for Saturday, man. After this long season, it's so nice to have meaningful basketball back.
That's right.
And, I really think we have a good shot to make it to an Eastern Conference Finals.
That's right.
I think this series with the Knicks will probably go 6 or 7 games.
That's right.
And I think this series is a lot about Tyrese Maxey. With the way the Knicks switch everything on defense, you're not going to have to deal with the Miami Heat zone. No doubt Joel Embiid will have a big role, but I see Maxey being the benefiter of the way the Knicks play defense. And, Nick Nurse, I expect him to make timely adjustments, and we've got a deeper bench than we've ever had. So Joel, if he's not 100%, he will have help. Like Nicholas Batum, who had the game of his life. My goodness, if that happens again, I don't expect that to happen. But, we got a lot of key contributors around, so I think we can really make a deep run this year, man. Go Sixers, baby.
I feel that way too, Zach, and I like that you brought up the Batum stuff. I don't need him to hit 6 threes a night. I don't. If Maxey hits 2 threes instead of it being Batum, then not that Batum's even going to hit 4 threes a night, but it's, do you have a guy that can, if needed, do you have a guy if needed can? And it's not just Batum. It just happened to be Batum recently, so that's a name we throw out there. But can Kyle Lowry have a night where he scores 18? Can it be someone like Buddy Hield? Can Buddy Hield hit 4 threes in a game, hit 5 threes in a game, pressure to Embiid, ball swings, Buddy Hield wide open? It's not Batum, it's Buddy. Of course. But then, Buddy Hield might have 3 quiet games, but that's a night where Embiid has 40. That's a night where Maxey has 37. You win that game, fine. But then Buddy Hield has a night, and then Tobias has a night. So if Hield has 1 night out of 7, Tobias has 1 night out of 7, Batum has 1 night out of 7, and Embiid is, at a reasonable playing field every night. That Kelly Oubre. What if it was Kelly Oubre who cooked and went off one night, and he was the one to play that Batum role? You have multiple different guys that can do it. So this narrative that, you can't rely on Batum, doesn't have to be Batum. It had that night. It had to be that night. But no game's the same. Let me know the last time you watched an NBA playoff series where Game 1 happened, and then Game 1 happened the same way in Game 2, Game 3, Game 4, the same exact thing happened every game that series. Come on. We sit there every year and go, how did that guy kill us? How did that guy destroy some nobody who no one even heard of? He goes off for 36 points and whooped your ass. Happens to us all the time. So now we get the benefit of that. All right, let's wrap things up with Sam.
Bros, you got to fire up for the series. These New Yorkers thinking that they want to beat us, that they think they can beat us. These fucking New Yorkers, they don't know the smell of their own shit. It's the most overrated fucking city ever. They think their city is better than us. I can't fucking wait to put them in their goddamn place.
All right, Sam. All right, Sam. All right, baby. Get the juices flowing. Get the juices flowing. I love it. I love you guys to death, man. I really do. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much. You're the greatest in the world. We'll be talking Saturday night, breaking down Game 1. Unreal. Can't wait. Talk to you guys then.